Thank you for bringing me back, Sean. And Sean, Happy New Year. He's such a great guy. But I have on my show the author of this book, Memoirs of a Highland Park Player, Mr. Ron Rivers. It's good to see
It's
you.
good to see you again. It's been a while. It's been a while.
It's been like 30 years.
My goodness, yes,
I know,
indeed.
and you look the same.
Well, thank you. You do too.
Oh, please. Well, thank you. I'm a senior citizen now. I was a young chippy when I was teaching at Highland Park back in the
Yes,
day.
you were. Yes, you were.
You heard that, everybody. But Ron, you've written a very interesting book, Memoirs of a Highland Park Player.
Thank you.
Where'd you get the title?
Well, when I was growing up, every young guy in Highland Park wanted to be a player.
That's true.
Everybody wanted to have a lot of pretty girlfriends,
Yeah.
and I did too.
Okay, so in fact, a lot of Highland Park guys thought they were players.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Everyone wanted to be one.
Right, right. So what made you decide to write this book?
Well, when I left Highland Park, Highland Park was on its way down, but I wanted to let people know how it was when I first moved there. Highland Park was a paradise.
Oh, it was wonderful.
And people nowadays, young people grow up nowadays, they think, Highland Park, is so negative, what they say about Highland Park. But I wanted to bring attention to how it was when I was growing up. It was a beautiful middle-class city. I just dreamed, of living there. It was a
And tell
dream.
people about your education.
Oh, education back in Highland Park, they taught you everything. We grew up learning. Highland Park, they taught us to read. It was libraries. Everyone was reading and learning.
Right,
It was a
right.
beautiful place to be educated, and that's what we were. We were educated.
Right, right. It was just wonderful. And then the school, we had homecomings, we had parades, all of those wonderful things. I loved Highland Park.
I loved the after-school dances. We had after-school
Yes.
dances
I
in
mean-
middle school. We had our little
And
dance.
we used to, before we moved over to new high school, we'd have dances at Ferris.
Oh yeah, Ferris, Cortland.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
yes, oh
yeah,
indeed. Those was the days. We had good times back then. It's kids nowadays, they don't get it these
They
days.
don't get after school activities.
None whatsoever. See, Highland Park, when I was growing up, we had the boys club, we had recreation centers, we had after school activities, basketball, baseball, football, everything, swimming,
Hackett Field.
Hackett Field, Ford Park.
The field house.
We had it all. And kids don't get it these days.
Too, you had like Sears and all of that up there.
Oh yes, Kresge's,
Yes.
Oh my goodness, I remember those days. Oh my goodness, we would go.
And the Highland Park was the city of trees.
Yes, it was. It was a park. It seemed like it was a park with just buildings and houses in it. Trees everywhere. The streets were manicured. They had street sweepers coming 2 or 3 times a week. They even swept the alleys. The alleys was clean.
I remember when I was a kid, there was a movie theater on Hamilton called the Palmer Park. I used to go there
Yes,
sometimes. I
indeed.
didn't know anything about Highland Park. So when I got the opportunity to, first I student taught over at the old high school, I said, wow, this is Highland Park. And then I knew the people. I loved the people of Highland Park.
The thing about Highland Park was Highland Park wasn't just a city. It was a community, but it was so small. It was like 3 square miles.
Yeah.
Everyone knew everybody. It was just one big family, and people treated each other like family. I had friends 10, 15 blocks away. We would come eat over each other's house for dinner. We have sleepovers all the time. Everybody knew everybody, and the thing about it, everybody's parents knew everybody's kids.
That's it. That
You
was
know,
it. And
see,
so
that
the
way-
parents could enforce.
Yes, anybody's parent could discipline anybody's kid.
Tell me, are the names in here real? As he tells a lot of stories of situations and circumstances, and he gets in the beauty of the city and the community. So were all these names real?
The publishers told me I couldn't put real names, because people could come back, and they would demand royalties, So I had to change the names of most of the
Because I
people.
was trying to guess, who was this? Who is that? I said, I know them.
The
You know,
people, the people that read the book that lived in Highland Park, they know who it is. They know who it is. They know who they are. They know who I'm talking about.
More so than the people who live in Highland Park, people would get something from all around about this book because it does have that community. It does have stories that a lot of people in small urban areas or bigger urban areas can relate to.
Definitely.
But one thing I noticed about some of the people I met when I first came to Highland Park as a teacher, they didn't know anything outside of Highland Park about the city. You know, I said, oh, something's over on Joy Road, and they said, where's that?
The thing about Highland Park, everything the Parkers needed was in Highland Park. We had 3 movie theaters. You know, we had the Palmer Park Theater, we had the Krim Theater, we had the 6 Mile Theater. We had 3 movie theaters. We could shop in Highland Park. We didn't have to go anywhere. All the shopping was there. Everything we needed was in Highland Park. We had a Brown's Creamery where you can go and get ice cream and muffins and cakes. We had our little restaurants.
And there were jewelry stores.
Jewelry. We had it was like a city with nothing but stores and shops.
And homes.
And homes. You didn't have to go anywhere. Everything. It was a middle class city that had everything that a person needed. You didn't have to go anywhere. You didn't have to go out of the city to get what you wanted.
Well, Ron, how can people get your book?
You can get my book at Barnes and Nobles, or you can get it online
At Amazon.
Amazon, ArthurHouse.com. You know, you can get it downloaded to your phone, your app.
Right. It's a Kindle book.
Yes.
Oh, gosh,
yes.
Wonderful. I need to ask you to tell the audience quickly one story that you relate in the book.
One story.
Yeah.
There's so many stories.
I know. Give me one.
Okay. When we were kids, Highland Park used to have the recreation center would allow us to go to free camp for 2 weeks. You know, so we all go out to camp for 2 weeks, and this camp had everything. It was like 15 cabins, and they would take us horseback riding, swimming, skating, you know, for 2 whole weeks. All the food you can eat, you know. And one time, we was they took us horseback riding, and we were like wild kids, you know. So they weren't used to Highland Park kids. So we would get on the horses.
You know, kids with a lot of life.
A lot of life. Okay, a whole lot of life. So what we did was say, all right, let's make these guys chase us. So we would take off, 6 of us, take off and make the counselors chase us like we was cowboys and Indians, you know. And we would just run away from them, and they got so upset, they made us get off. We rode about half a mile. They made us get off those horses and walk them all the way back. The horses were so tired, you know. But we loved it every year. They would allow us to go to. Kids don't get that these days.
They don't get
You have to
it.
pay for everything. But we had free stuff. You know, everything was free back in Highland Park in those days.
Well, Ronnie, I want to thank you. This is, I mean, Ron. I'm so used to calling you Ronnie.
You know, the thing about that is, you know, when I started my own business, personal training, you know, out in West Bloomfield, you know, they all called me Ron. So I just put on my business card, Ron, you know. And my mother got so upset. She said, I named you Ronnie. What is this Ron stuff you coming home with? You better change your name back to Ronnie. You know?
Okay, Ronnie. Okay. Memoirs of a Highland Park Player. It's worth the read. It's an entertaining read. Thank you so much for visiting us
Thank
this
you.
morning.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Oh, I'm glad
to
you're here. We'll be right back with the rest of Table Talk. And we are back. We are back with Table Talk, and we have a lot to talk about this morning. But on this day, by Ken Coleman, I have to read a segment because on this day, January 2nd, Aubrey W. Lee joins National Bank of Detroit as a teller. Excuse me. He will become an assistant manager at the bank at Linwood and Claremont, the office manager of its Warren and 31st Street office. In 1968, Lee will become assistant vice president and regional manager. The West Virginia native is a member of the Detroit branch of the NAACP and the Booker T. Washington Business Association. So really, he really made it ascended, because in that day they didn't have a lot of black management and everything like that. You went in the bank and most of everybody was white back in those days. But I wouldn't know. In 1957, I was too young to go in the bank. But I am acknowledging that I was alive.
There you go.
What year were you born?
1967.
So, anyway, I'm not going to ask
Letting go
Robert.
to the
I'm not going to ask Robert. Okay, now, all we hear all the time is what President Obama hasn't done and how he's bringing down the country and everything. But he's had a lot of accomplishments, don't you think, guys?
Absolutely. I think he's had a ton of accomplishments, and when we were discussing this story and putting the story together, my biggest concern are not his detractors, but his so-called allies. So we'll get to that. I mean, I know.
To that.
This last election cycle, I've had a lot of conversations about how many Democrats ran away from this record. From unemployment dropping all the way down to 5.8. Now, when I was in school, in college, I remember my econ class said that the country thought that full employment was 5%. We're 8 points off of full employment for the country. Now, there's always going to be people, we're 0.8%, and that we're always there's always going to be unemployed people. But if we drop from 10% down to 5% in the amount of time that this president has done, has had, and Democrats have run away from him, then I'm trying to wonder what a Democrat is.
I'm going to agree. This was it's mind-boggling to me that they ran away from the president and all his accolades. I mean, who else? When you look at this, the unemployment rate fell from to 5.8%, all the way from 10%. It says right here 7.6%, but I remember it was up to 10 something.
It
was. And in Michigan it was 17, and the governor ran on, the fact that we now have employment.
Yeah, and it's really pissed me off during the elections because they did not. Number one, the Obama administration, and the Democrats did not control their own narrative, and that really upset me, and especially his supporters. They did not control the narrative. They let the Republicans control it from the get-go. Right off the blocks, they controlled it. From American Care Act, they started calling it Obamacare, and then the president and his administration attempted to.
They embraced that.
They
embraced that.
They shouldn't have. That was a bad call.
Well, I don't know. I mean, because I think that embracing it in his name, he tried to use it.
He tried to change it. I do care.
Right. He said exactly. Obamacare means I care. Obamacare means that if 7 million people have health care now, then I'll embrace that. And the Republicans were allowed to use that against them, and that's where that narrative came.
Yeah, but it's okay for us to use it as Democrats or the Democrats as a whole.
I'm an
when
independent.
we're talking about the rural America, where you have a lot of Republicans out there, they're going to continue to control that narrative. The urban cities only make up a certain percentage.
I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree with you. With the electorate, right?
But rural America is the ones that actually control the numbers when it comes to voting and things like that.
And that's where the voting against their own self-interest. Because if you look at this list, gasoline price, this is where we live. This is where not just urban Americans, but the farmer and the rural and the urban and the not so urban Americans. They live in trucking. They live in gasoline prices. They live in health care, and they live in
people
benefits.
with small businesses like snow removal and gas.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, so many people use gas, and I haven't seen it this low.
You have it here at $2.03. It was $1.99 this morning.
I saw it $1.95 this morning.
Yeah. I bought it at $1.95.
That darn Obama.
2 days ago.
He just gets getting gas down from $5.
The narrative, though.
Yes.
And not enough of his constituents out there are praising these numbers. They're not going around saying, hey,
campaigning on these numbers, because at the time
like
of campaigning,
we were touting it. But here's the thing, also. When I would hear this one, I'm so glad that she lost, Allison Grimes.
Oh yeah,
because she wouldn't even admit
that she voted for him. And how's that working out?
How'd that work out for you, Allison?
That's just, you know,
with
that
all your money.
yeah, and that's, you know, like I said, this is a wonderful record right
And
here.
she surely wasn't the only one.
No,
he wasn't.
no.
But I want to talk
I'm
about
happy Gary Peters in this area actually embraced.
He
his
actually
number.
embraced
Right.
him, brought him
And he's one of
into
the smart
Michigan,
ones.
brought him
then-
in.
Okay, let's break something down there. Let's break it down. I'll start with the national piece. The national piece, you mean you had nobody. You had no one who was good enough in marketing to teach them how to stick to the message
Yes.
and how to tout the message and all of this. I've never seen such a failure. But then let's come home to the failure. Let's come to Michigan. Mark Schauer.
Much out,
Mm.
yeah.
He had the worst
Yeah.
people on his commercial team ever because he got up there and talked about what he would do. He sounded like Elmer Gantry on the back of a truck trying to sell snake oil. This is what I'm going to do, but how are you going to do it? He never said how he was going to do it. And as far as I'm concerned, they let the Republicans control the narrative. The thing about Gary Peters, and I've been voting for Gary Peters since he was state rep because I'm in his district, but he has always been consistent. And he has had people break party lines to vote for him.
Well, see, one of the problems that Schauer would have had, and I'm sure, and I know you've talked to Ken Coleman on this right after the elections. He broke all this down. One of the things that Schauer had going against him was a not so enthused electorate, not so enthused people. The numbers went down when President Obama wasn't on the ticket. The voting numbers went down.
But I gotta
So
tell you that
the less amount of people voting works for Republicans. That's a vote for a Republican.
Oh, come on.
Especially in
Let me tell
Michigan.
you something. Let me tell you something. There were a lot of people mad at Snyder, but I'm going to tell you this also. They were mad at Snyder, but I told Schauer when he was on my show,
Mm-hmm.
I told him this off air. I said, I'll help you. I'll help you. As far as getting your message across. When he actually did his commercials, he had I was a speech teacher. He had these mechanical hand movements. They didn't teach him how to do right. Someone else should have wrote his narrative. I could have helped this man. And wait a minute, my sister-in-law was on. She worked for him,
No,
and
you're
she
right.
told him. She said, "I got people who could help you." But he had this white team. I'm going to say it just like it was.
Throw it
who
out there.
said you have to make these mechanical movements. You have to come out from behind a farmhouse.
Right.
I mean, there
And,
was so
and not
many
from
things-
downtown.
not
and
from
the
down-
reason and why was that? Because they looked at the numbers and they were going to look at who was voting
yeah,
in larger numbers and play to that base. It didn't work because you had somebody coming out saying, "I'm a nerd and I'm an accountant and we're going to get this." And
and
No,
a
not
lot of
necessarily so.
people think that Snyder made it for Detroit white friendly.
Well, not just that. When
Did
he
I
came
say
out,
that?
when he came out, Schauer was not enthused. He didn't seem like an enthusing
not at all.
candidate. Period. Not just that. Once again, when you're running for the governor, you know you can tout once again the president's numbers. He ran away.
he
from
should
that
have
too.
jumped on those president's
I mean,
numbers.
you're
Let's
talking
keep.
about
Right,
Democrats
right.
supporting Democrats, and especially with these numbers. These numbers have been around here for a while now, and he chose not to do it.
Right.
And yes, he did choose to listen to folks that didn't translate with Detroiters.
Well, I read yesterday that the stock market was in shock at how well they did.
Oh, absolutely.
Over 18,000 on with the Dow.
And it's steady going up.
Yes.
It's steady going up.
Those are-
But
those
this
are
darn
astounding numbers.
Obama.
Way before Bush was in office. Matter of fact, these are heights
These are
we've
all
never reached
recognized. We've
before.
never reached
Never
before,
reached
ever.
Never
These are
reached
all
them. I
historical.
mean, yeah.
Because it was at the time at the
brother
last year it
man.
was 17,000. Now we're at 18,000.
Brother
So-
man, not the other man.
Yeah,
No,
that
I
kind
didn't say that, did I? But seriously,
Happy New Year.
what they have been touting was, first and foremost, because he was a black man, or is a black man, they have been relegating the black man. The black man has been under attack to me since he was elected, and he has been under attack and disrespected. Anytime that congressman yells "you lie," I mean, and then that Jan, what's her name in Arizona, has her
The governor of
shaking
Arizona.
her finger at him and so forth. But I mean, job creation, and a lot of people. I'm tired. I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm tired of politicians saying we need jobs. I'm tired of people. There are so many jobs out here. I have never seen until lately the signs up now hiring. I have been
Help
seeing
wanted. I've seen a lot of those around here. I've seen a lot of them, and you know that's going to happen with a burgeoning society. And I think I think even Detroit, especially Detroit, is back on the way up, and you'll see those help wanted signs. Now, what has to happen is we have to have people taking those jobs and creating better ones. I mean, if you know, what did Eddie Murphy say? You give them a rope, you want to be a cowboy, give them an inch, you want to take a mile.
Right.
But just like we talked about last week, it comes with the training. It's gonna have to come with teaching. And it's going to have to come with not just college train, but we're going to need some industry train folk as well. And the new industry is electronics, and the new marketplaces are electronics, and that's where all the training is going to have to be. And I know Governor Granholm wanted to make this the technological center of the Midwest, Michigan, and be a cool city. And that's when Google came in. And now we have those jobs, and we're going to need to get more jobs. And a job is a job. When you don't have one from before, and I had this conversation yesterday, if you didn't have one before, having a job, having a minimum wage job in the beginning is a job.
I'm going to add that someone asked me a question yesterday about what's the next booming industry in the Detroit area, and it's I think for the next 20 years it's going to be construction.
Yep.
And that's the part when you're talking about you know, it's not that much of a education society when it comes here in Detroit. It's a high number of uneducated individuals going to either college or high school, college dropouts. But those very same people can be trained in the construction industry.
Right.
It's a high-paying job, and when you talk about M1 rail being laid, when you're talking about the 2 new hotels going to come up after the 2017 when they implode Joe Louis Arena. When you talk about the new construction there in Corktown, the old Tiger Stadium. I mean, all of these. I mean, these are just beginning when you're talking about construction jobs. But hey, they're there. They're going to be here over the next 20 years.
And you have to get training. People don't understand. I've heard a lot of people tell me, "Well, I need a job." You know, what's your skill level?
Right.
If you have no skill level, you might have to take a job at McDonald's or somewhere right now. But you can. So many places will pay for you to get an education.
And one of the things that like I said, I had a very long conversation yesterday about this. One of the things that when we get upset with those business leaders and business owners around here for saying what they're not doing, one of the first things I come back with is, what's the answer? And the answer is creating to me would be creating that training program, because those jobs are coming. Yeah. So if the Illiches and the Penskes of the world will they can create their own workforce right here in the city of Detroit while they're building right here in the city of Detroit. And I think, and of course, greater minds than mine can come up with this. But if you create,
think so?
I believe so. If you create that program,
no, they are. That's what's going on right now with the workforce development program.
No, I was kidding.
Oh,
I told you it's a greater mind than mine.
They are trying to create that, but they have some roadblocks along the way regarding: are we going to train Detroiters? Are we going to continue to hire the same people who's coming in from Detroit to have these jobs, because the Detroiters aren't trained up to par?
Okay, case in point. Another thing that we're doing, and we're getting off this subject of President Obama, but we're talking.
We're not going to run away from him, are we?
No,
okay.
No, I can't run away from him.
We're embracing his numbers.
We're going to embrace his numbers. I know.
I have a cane. I can't run away from my president. Anyway, no, seriously, it's entrepreneurship, and a lot of that is happening. Yet they are touting the Caucasians more so with entrepreneurship rather than us. But I look at the place where you get your hair cut, Robert, at the social club.
Social club.
And and the social club, put your mic in. The social club is run by my former student's husband. Well, she runs it too, Gabrielle. That's one of my girls. And so they were just on CNN for several weeks, and I recorded that, and they want to come on my show. So, of course, I'm going to have them on my show. But he took his passion, and this is their passion. A lot of times, our prosperity lies within our passions.
That's absolutely correct.
No, you're absolutely right.
God, that's a good quote. I got to put that on Facebook, man.
Not just that, but he has and I'll let him tell you what else he's doing with his shop. But he's done some remarkable things over this past 3 years, 4 years. I believe
He has discussions there.
Yeah. With small talks, and I think the last one, the time before last, it was, I think the month before last, it was at George Anandi's art gallery.
Right.
I mean, he had over 200 to 300 people there.
Oh, wow.
It was great. It was a great discussion. They bring in 3 or 4 panelists while they're getting a haircut and having a barbershop.
Have a barbershop discussion. That's cool.
I mean, it's
And
crazy.
that's where, well, see, one thing I've always loved was to watch men talk. Mainly, well, women I can say women in the hair salons, they do talk and everything, but I've always enjoyed the company of men because
EEOC.
they tell, what you say?
EEOC.
Yes, they tell the best stories, sometimes fish stories, loud ones, but then they get when they start talking about sports, they become so animated.
Then they write books about being players.
Yeah, well, they do. But anyway, no, seriously, my
you're
father
right.
used to manage a gas station when I was young, and I loved coming up there just listening to the men talk. They were funny. I mean, they could just talk without being, oh, he's cuter than me. Women get a little petty sometimes. I hate to say,
Wouldn't know. Yeah, we wouldn't do that.
No, but men have a different type of discussion.
Yeah, and a lot of our discussions, I guess, we're a lot more passionate when we have, especially we feel
just like last week. Yeah,
and we're not going to back down. It can't get a little.
Oh yeah, we got to get over to that too.
And then the one thing that a lot of men do, we remember stats a lot. And we remember, especially sports statistics, and I'm glad to hear about this place because I'm sure they're talking about unemployment statistics and talking about the homeless rate statistics. But it's whatever you're passionate about, and whatever you're passionate about, you're gonna try to remember, because if you get, I guess the word is dogged out at that last discussion, you're gonna go home and study.
Okay, our next article, and President Obama, you're doing a great job. Keep on being Wild Bill Obama. I love it. Is the preconception that plagues blacks, especially black men. And there's a quote right here. Well, they do talk first, and I hate that I have this. I actually have an iPad. I should be using an iPad too. No. It says, when a white police officer confronts a black teenager on the street, does the idea automatically pop into his head that the kid is up to no good? I mean, and it does that. Not with everybody, with some, but they say here, throughout U.S. history, confirmation bias has helped some white people use the image of the evil black man for their own ends. The infamous Willie Horton TV ad caused a huge controversy when it ran during the 1988 presidential race between George H.W. Bush and Massachusetts Governor Michael Dukakis. The ad featured a fearsome-looking mugshot of a black convict who raped a woman while free under a Massachusetts prison furlough program backed by Dukakis. The ad was intended to picture Dukakis as soft on crime, and it works. So whenever they use a black man's mugshot and stuff like that, this gives the connotation of this is the way. Some people never run into black people. Mm-hmm. There are actually people who never see black right here in Michigan. Now, I don't want to monopolize this, but I do want to say that even when they show Obama, President Obama, on these conservative things, they have him in very telling views. They don't have him looking like he usually looks. It's usually a demonic view.
Right. I'll let you go first because this is kind of.
Well, I was going to say that you're absolutely right, and I believe they paint a lot of African Americans in a negative view. Not just that, and you do have officers out there that believe in this negative view, although they're in the inner city and they know this. Not everyone is not like that. I believe who is it? Charles Ogletree said that 99% of African Americans don't commit crimes. So why are you
Right.
looking at us to commit crimes?
Right.
But I believe a lot of this has to do with media. Once again, the
There you
media
go.
is in urban cores. When they stuck in the urban core,
Yeah.
they don't report the numbers that what's happening in the rural area. So they're showing these images of African Americans committing crimes without doing the same thing in the rural communities or in the suburban communities where all these Caucasians are doing a crime.
Well, they have here as far as history in the 17th century and so forth, the first slaves they used in the Caribbean were Irish.
Well, and they didn't call them slaves. I read that, and they didn't call them slaves back
No.
then. Remember, slavery was a peculiar institution, and those were called indentured servants.
I know.
So they were so they changed just like they changed torture to enhanced interrogation. Whoever controls the message gets it out, and this is not just something that has plagued us since Obama's been in office. This is something that's plagued us since I was a child, and even before that. Black men especially black men, have been portrayed as demonic or monstrous or beasts, and in this, and Ferguson brought the Ferguson grand jury brought this out when this cop was allowed to testify for 4 hours straight and say that this young man had a demonic look on his face. He was a big, and he was
like the Incredible
Hulk. All these buzzwords were used to allow this grand jury to confirm what they had already thought about whatever was going on in this situation.
Well, let's quickly talk. Let's get into Detroit because what's ahead for Detroit? What do you think? They have things like this new beginnings. There are a lot of people here. Like I had Zaina on last show who had been in business downtown for 30 years. And they don't include her in the new Detroit. I think they say mostly Caucasians for the new Detroit.
Wow. Yeah. Who controls the message?
Caucasians.
Who's controlling the message?
That's why this station is going to become so important.
And there are a lot of businesses out there. A lot of there was a minority business, black business expo years ago, and it has not been back. I think it was 05 or 04, something like that, and it has not been back. It's time for that. I guess if I were writing the commercial, I would write I would open my door, turn around the open sign, and then and pull the shot out, it would be Detroit. We're back open for business, and let everybody come through those doors.
I think likely you'll probably see it. McCants, I believe he hasn't had a expo in years because of the economy. When it took a downturn, and so did the Black Expos and the sponsorships.
Well, perhaps they could have it in smaller venues.
They can, but onto the topic. You're right. I believe they're trying to depict a change in Detroit, so they're not showing too many African Americans being a part of this change, which is a serious issue, especially when you had articles like Nolan Finley wrote the other day.
Oh yeah, where are the black people?
African Americans. We're downtown too.
We're downtown in those same lines, right?
And then on top of that, people don't hear about these new grand openings of these new restaurants. I mean.
They're in the paper, but it's usually not an African American restaurant.
Well, yeah, and then you talk about transportation. How does folks in the inner city going to get down there? And then they have some severe parking issues
in the city of Detroit. Oh my goodness!
Talking about the Midtown area, we're trying to straighten out now. But yeah, I mean they're not showing the people coming to these venues. I live in the area. I shop in that area all the time. I patronize all the businesses. And
one of the things
bow tie down there.
No.
And one of the things that we have to
Yeah, okay.
one of the things that we have to do is start touting our own message.
Yeah.
We have to get out to where black folk are, where the people that we want to come patronize these businesses are. I mean, for instance, I know that there's this little place that's there are cigar bars all over the place.
I know you know about that.
And if there was a black-owned,
Detroit.
it's just two.
Yeah.
And if there was a black-owned cigar bar, imagine. I mean,
You'd be sitting up in there every
front
day.
row.
Yeah, I know.
Not just on Fridays. So we have to get our own, instead of saying they're not saying our message, we need to say our message.
I agree.
And that's why Brenda Perryman is so important.
No, I try to bring business owners on. I try to bring them on my other show to let people know this is what's out there. We're not going to sit up. I can't live back in the past.
No.
I can't. We have to push forward and push ahead. I cannot play the victim.
Yeah.
Exactly. And
Definitely controlling your message, though.
We do have to control our message. We have to get out there, and I think that you know how you've heard of the Augusta Straker organization.
Yeah.
They help people. It's a black organization of lawyers that help black people who can't afford a lawyer, you know, with cases and so forth. Hopefully, we have a lot of people around here who said they're PR experts and marketing experts who are black. They should come in and do some volunteer work too with this
two
small
of her on
business.
your show.
Yeah.
You're absolutely
Tamika
right.
and
It's the
Cheryl.
Oakland County Bar Association, Black Bar, equivalent to the Wolverine Bar in Detroit.
Yeah, well, that's
do
what
the
they
same-
need to
yeah.
do, some more volunteer work.
And
We need
if
to-
they're listening, they need to sponsor this show so that they can, so that we
Absolutely.
can get the message out and get the message in.
Absolutely, absolutely. And they say, what's ahead? They said same-sex marriage and the Affordable Care Act. Michigan is the focus of both. So I don't know what's going to happen there. And then post-bankruptcy Detroit, because the bankruptcy is so-called over, isn't it?
Since
Yes
October.
and no. I mean, you're still under you're still under the tutelage of the state, really.
Conservancy or something like
Yeah, I believe it's what 10 years.
that. 10 years.
So they're going to be able to control some of the pockets of Detroit while we try to save up the money and straighten it and spend it the
right
correct
size,
way.
right.
Versus,
Yeah, well. Anyway, downtown development, they say that the light rail is a minor annoyance. It's more than a minor annoyance because I think of those businesses up and down the street. I mean,
Well, in order to grow, I mean, the one problem in my estimation, and I've been saying this for years, that Detroit has had as a major city has never had a light rail system
oh yeah.
and never had a subway system. If you look at any city with a subway system or an L system or like DC with the metro, everywhere they put a metro, and they're still expanding the metro. They got, I think it's called the Gray Line now. Everywhere they expand the metro, businesses pop up at those exits, and that's because they know people can come, patronize those businesses, get back on the train, and go back to where they came from.
Right.
And we don't have that. And I understand the
Well,
car industry under all that, but we
Well,
don't
you
have
know,
that.
Well, the car industry is, I think it's still going to run rampant here for years.
will.
It will,
City.
but it is the Motor City.
I
But
must say that it is. It's probably lessening now when it comes to traveling
because of
by
market
car
share.
in the downtown and midtown area, and it's going to pay off dividends because no one's going to really drive, especially like to the games. We have the M1 rail system
Right.
ending at Grand Boulevard. You know, you're going to have these parking there, and people going to get on the metro
But I,
system.
you know,
to go
have,
downtown.
I have done my private search of the boulevard and everything, and I'm saying, where are the parking lots?
Watch it.
well, to
Yeah.
come, they'll have to.
They're about to come.
They'll have to. There'll be
zoning
a
commission. Okay, they have to come, but I have an issue with it not going down to 8 Mile, at least.
They had to build a case for it, though, because you have nothing but destitute land between Grand Boulevard and 6 Mile. So what are you going to do? You got to really build a case for something going and extending that far. Now it's going up to the hopefully it goes up to the suburbs eventually. But right now they have to, you know, they're dealing with public and private funds, more private than public this time around. There's a lot of investors invested in M1 Rail, but coming from downtown to Grand Boulevard, it's going to be a lot of traffic there. So they're going to build up the case, and then I guess probably about 5 to 10 years later they're going to build it.
I want to see it in my lifetime.
You will be
You're
alive.
young. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but I'd be too old to step up on that rail. Anyway,
They're doing some amazing things with the rail system. They're about to build a rail system from Ann Arbor to the airport to the Amtrak station in Midtown. So you're about to see a lot more rail come up.
I'm sorry. She just made me think of Miss Jane Pittman when they got those water fountains.
Wow.
I just say, oh,
I'm sorry.
They say, oh, Brenda getting on the rail.
She's getting on the rail.
I never thought I'd
I
see
never
this
thought
in
I'd
my
see
lifetime. I tell you, I'm so grateful.
I'm
Let's
sorry.
go to sports
Let's
real
do it.
quick.
Big Ten.
I mean, okay, the Big Ten.
Big Ten.
Harbaugh.
Oh, yeah. Didn't think you wanted to get to that, but yes. Not that he's a savior of football,
I know,
Michigan
everybody
football,
act like he's a
but
second coming.
what happened on 3 or 4 days ago. The decommits are starting to call back, and that is good for Michigan football. Michigan State did great yesterday, and that other team to the south of the state did good yesterday.
Ohio State.
Yeah.
My grandson wore an Ohio State sweatshirt over to me the other day, and my son has nothing but Michigan stuff. He lives in Ohio, and the Ohio State fans are rabid. They're the worst.
Yeah, they are.
They're the worst.
Well, yeah.
But that school did well.
Ohio State took that championship yesterday. Now they advanced
Handily.
Yeah. It was
Sugar Bowl.
interesting. I mean, a lot of people thought they were going to lose, just like Michigan
Alabama.
State game.
Wanted them to.
Both of them started off similarly, and Ohio State came back, and so did Michigan State.
Michigan, that was a great game. I
I
mean,
wish I would have watched that game.
I walked away from the game. I was at a brunch at a friend's house, and we walked away because the game was so lopsided. By the time I made it home, which was 5 minutes later, the score had started to balance, and I was captivated by that game. And a lot of my cousins went to Michigan State, so I was on text, and he was so nervous about the game that.
Say the cousins like in black people. Or the
Yeah,
cousins
no,
like
these are
in
my
cousins?
like blood.
I will add though that I was a little disappointed at the arrangement of the airing of the game. I didn't like that the Sugar Bowl started after, was it the Rose Bowl?
Yeah, that was the Rose Bowl. You wanted to see the trophy or something?
Started like at 10 o'clock.
It's always been that way.
Tired, man.
It's always been that way.
Cotton Bowl.
The
is always
January
good.
1st is the day that you just sit back and watch football. You just get drunk off
and it
football
lasted till
all
like
day.
1 in the
Okay,
morning.
Exactly.
okay. So I was disappointed that the Lions lost. I have a friend who is a rabid Green Bay fan, George. He's in Atlanta, one of my friends, and I mean he has a movie room and it has nothing but he and his
Cheeseheads or
wife.
something.
Cheeseheads.
And they sent me a note. Sorry, Brenda.
Well, not too sorry because their quarterback is not doing so well with his hamstring.
They're not going to advance to
The Green Bay's not going
But
to.
on the other hand-
we never
Detroit is in the
advanced
prime,
past this.
and we're in the prime
I think we- I
position
think
to
we're gonna
advance.
be, okay.
I think we're going to be
We
fine.
have Sue back, and we have Fairley.
Who's coming?
be
He was
back.
practice
Yeah,
yesterday.
I know. I heard Fairly went to practice. I'm a
and-
girl, but I keep up. But my son says that they should get rid of Sue.
I said this yesterday on Facebook that win, lose, or draw, to all my Dallas fans, win, lose, or draw, we'll always be friends.
Did you say you're
Well,
Dallas
I said
fans?
all the Dallas fans. My wife is a Dallas fan. But win, lose, or draw, we'll always be friends. Detroit wins, Dallas loses, and we draw a home game. We'll always be friends.
But we have to learn to win the big one.
Yeah.
We have to learn to win and be winners.
Yeah.
That's where the problem is. They don't know how to be winners. They don't know how to perform as winners. And once they start doing things like these stupid penalties, spearing and stepping on people,
man.
those are the kind of things that winners wouldn't have to do that
They don't.
because their production would do it.
I'm going to add, you just asked a question about
About
Sue.
Sue.
If he doesn't come back, it definitely opens up a lot more money
Oh, yeah.
in Detroit's coffers.
A lot of money
to give, to
to
shore up
people.
their defense, definitely.
And he's kind of like a loose cannon.
I wouldn't say that. I think that was a mistake last week. I don't think he did that intentionally.
I'm
Ouch.
just looking at the last 2 years of.
but
He hasn't done it this year because it's his contract year.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do anything that's going to bring my money
still,
down.
he didn't do anything.
No.
The record will always show that he was a clean player up until a week ago.
Well, the thing
For
is,
this
too,
year.
well, he had some.
Come on now, let's be honest with the
let's be
record
honest.
for
Come on
this.
now.
And I love Sue. I love
like Sue.
that's the only jersey that I've bought is a
think
Sue
he's-
jersey.
he
So
gets
that's
into
what
his
my
character.
grandson had.
He's a passionate individual on the field, and
Well, I
some of the
bought
things.
one of those.
Ooh, we're
I am a
stretching some words
Megatron
here.
fan.
Megatron is the man,
Oh,
and we're
Lord.
stretching some words here.
But they're not using Megatron and
because
and tape
of the
the way they
quarterback,
used to right
and,
now.
and that's not them. That's the quarterback. That's Matt
Okay,
Stafford.
Let's
See,
yeah,
you started us down this line. It's Matt
I
Stafford,
mean,
number
that is-
9.
well, I said
we
that.
need a quarterback, and we have this guy until 2018.
Yeah, but I say we have him for some more years.
2018 with an
But-
extension and more money.
But how did Tom Brady emerge?
From
Somebody
Michigan.
got hurt. I mean, I'm talking about on his team.
He came
Did
from Michigan.
Yeah, no. I know where he came from.
Just saying. I'm just saying.
I know where he came from, and we just have a couple minutes. But I know where he came from. What I was just stating, because the quarterback got hurt, then what happens?
Oh, that he sure did get hurt, and Tom Brady came in as a backup, and but you also have to have developed backups.
Yes.
And before Caldwell got here,
If we
I'm
have
not
a call,
sure.
I'll just take the call right now. I'll take the call. I'll take the call.
Take it blindly.
And but maybe you need to develop quarterbacks. I'm mad at the Lions. I've been mad at them for about 25 years.
They just picked the quarterback up.
Oh, good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Who am I?
Yeah, good
Who are
morning.
we speaking to, please?
I'm Paul. I'm calling you from Plano, Texas right now, and wait till Sunday.
Oh wow!
I
Can you
live in
speak a
Detroit.
little
Can you
louder?
speak a little louder? You sound like a Dallas fan.
Yeah, I live in Detroit. I'm visiting a friend here for the holidays, and it was a good game yesterday right down the street where they're going to play Sunday.
Awesome.
Detroit, last time they won a playoff game wasn't against Dallas, so let's hope history can do it.
Oh, so
that's
are
why
you a
I like
Detroit
to
fan?
Watching you on Roku, and I love this. I love your theme song, and I'll let you go.
And-
Say hi to Michelle if she's there, and Sean, most wanted young man, and you guys are coming in good.
Outstanding.
Oh, wow.
Appreciate it.
Thank
Go
you.
Lions. And don't forget to wear your Lions jersey.
I'll be watching it on TV, but my friend who's went to Wayne State, he's down here playing drums in the band here. I'm representing. He'll be at the game.
Awesome.
So thank you. I hope it was. I know it was. I missed a good party. But I'll be back in Detroit real quick when the Lions win, and let's just hope it happens. I believe it can. And our quarterback went to school right here in Highland Park, so he grew up with not. He's not. He can do it. Not that he needs. We need him. He's not gonna. He's gonna let Detroit win, even though he went to school right here in Dallas.
We're gonna have to. We're gonna do
You
it.
guys.
We
Thanks,
are
bye-bye.
going to do it. We are going to do it.
Hey, thanks for calling from Texas.
Okay, thank you, and welcome, and Happy New Year.
Appreciate it, guys.
Did I tell you all Happy New Year?
Yes, you did. But it always sounds better when you say it on air.
Happy New Year
Okay, Marilyn.
to you. Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year, WHPR family. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year.
Okay,
Thank
and
you
we
very
will
much.
see everybody next week, and we'll talk about what you feel your year will look like.
Oh, wow.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome.
Talk
Thank
is
you.
brought to you by